everyone. Welcome to Lunch Hour Lessons with Allison. I'm Allison Mädl, and today is March 6th, 2019. Each week on Wednesday at 12:30, I come to you live to introduce a topic that I think is interesting regarding nutrition and health and give you a lesson to take with you into your daily life. If you like what you hear, be sure to comment or like this video. And as always, I post a transcript on my blog at allisonmädl.com. This week's lesson is hydrate yourself. So water is the most common nutritional deficiency in the American population. The advice that you only need to drink when you're thirsty is a myth that is perpetuating, and being thirsty means that you're already dehydrated and the body is demanding that its buffer of water be filled back up. Things that can deplete water would be exercise, hot weather, sugar, coffee, tea, sodas, even black tea and some herbal teas can be kind of forcing water out of the body. Also, eating foods that are high in table salt, like at a restaurant, or processed foods, those can be quite dehydrating. And I'm wondering if you've ever come home from a restaurant or a meal out and just thought, oh, I'm so thirsty, and you just feel this like craving for water. That's the table salt, and it doesn't happen with sea salt. So the adult body is made up of about 60% water, with the lungs having a very high percentage of water at about 83%. What does all this water do in the body? One of the things that it does is help regulate body temperature. The brain uses it to manufacture hormones. It helps flush waste out, mostly through urine. It can lubricate joints, helps deliver oxygen throughout the body. And also in terms of digestion, it's very important to form saliva to actually start the entire digestive cascade. It also is a large component of stomach acid, which we've talked about previously. And it also keeps our mucous membranes of our entire GI tract protected and functioning well. So I did mention that the lungs have a high water content. And this was an aha moment for me when I learned it. And I'll share a little story with you. So when I was in college, I took a breakdancing class. Breakdancing. And it was really intense. And I'd be breathing really heavily throughout. And I would notice, and when I'd come home after the class, my lungs would feel kind of irritated, and I would wheeze and cough for about 2 hours after this breakdancing class. And it really concerned me a little bit because it had never happened before. So I went to a doctor and was diagnosed with exercise-induced asthma, prescribed an inhaler, and I took that for probably a decade. And during that time, I trained for half marathons. I ran 3 of them. I did endurance events and used the inhaler consistently throughout this, and kind of figured I had the condition managed. I didn't really know anything else. Flash forward to when I took my nutritional therapy practitioner program about 5 years ago, I learned that the lesson that I'm going to teach you today. And the lesson is that you need to divide your body weight in half and then drink that many ounces of water each day. So for example, if you weigh 150 pounds, you'd be drinking 75 ounces of water a day. I started making a habit to do that because it was in our curriculum, and didn't really think much about it until about 3 months later, when I went on a big hike and I was breathing heavily again. We were going uphill, and I noticed that I wasn't wheezing anymore. I wasn't, coughing and wheezing and those sort of irritated feeling in my lungs. And I finally made the connection that since the lungs are so dependent on water to function properly, that what I had done was basically hydrate my lungs, and I was okay. So I had been relying on my thirst signals to tell me when I was thirsty, and that obviously wasn't working because my lungs were suffering. So even chronic asthma can respond well to adequate hydration. Some people, some other things that can happen is that they notice that their joints feel better, they have a major improvement in digestion, and many people notice that their skin looks a lot better when they flush out the toxins and kind of hydrate all the cells. Everything just sort of fluffs up and gets happier. So I'll give you a few tips and tricks to get started on increasing your hydration levels. The first thing is to start slowly. You need to find out how much water you should be drinking a day and fill up a container with that amount of water and start to see how much you can get through in a day. Don't chug the water, but just sip it throughout the day, and you'll notice that your thirst signals sort of amp up and you reawaken your desire for water as you get that hydrated into your body. A good thing is to add a pinch or two of sea salt to your water for the electrolytes, not table salt, but sea salt. Table salt doesn't have any other electrolytes in it. So this is going to eliminate the excessive need to urinate when you start increasing your water consumption. Do minimize water consumption with meals because it will dilute the stomach acid. About 8 ounces is appropriate. With meals, you may find that when you sit down to meals, you're really thirsty. That's probably because you're already dehydrated. So once your body is hydrated, meal times won't be the best time to drink water. Filtered water is best, even an inexpensive carbon filter like a Brita or one of those Brita pitchers. That does go a long way to making your water more healthful. 100 ounces is the upper limit of how much water you'd want to drink a day. The only exception would be something like high elevation or endurance events that might require more than that. So last tip, for every 8 ounces of diuretic beverage that you consume, like soda, coffee, black tea, even sugar, you're going to need to add 8 ounces of water more back into your calculation. And some people find that this helps them cut back on those beverages if they decide to do so because they're already hydrating themselves with water. You'll know that your hydration levels are adequate when your urine is fairly clear. Most people, if you're taking B vitamins, will actually have kind of a yellow tint to the urine, but in general, if your urine's fairly clear, that's a good sign that you're hydrated. And that is all the time we have for today. Be sure to tell a friend this week's lunch hour lesson, which is to drink half your body weight in ounces of water every day to stay hydrated. Again, drink half your body weight in ounces of water every day to stay hydrated. Like my page to get the weekend tip that comes out on Saturday morning, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.